Hello guys, and welcome to Small Samuel Math Tutorials. So the today's lesson will be doing the differential calculus, but then we're only going to focus on the three subtopics, which is the first principle, the derivative, and the tangent, right? So now let's focus on the first principle. So I just wrote the steps that we need to follow for the first principle. The first step is what is to find f of x plus h, which this one is step 1. And then the second step is to write what f of x, and the third step is to find f of x plus h minus f of x. This is the third step, right? So after that, remember that you'll be either given whenever you are asked to determine the first derivative from the first principles or using the first principle, you can either be given the linear function or the quadratic function or the hyperbolic function, right? So these three steps, right, when it's quadratic, linear, or hyperbolic, we are going to follow all those three steps. But then the fourth steps, that's why I didn't write it, because they are different. So I'm just going to explain them while doing what the examples, right? So now let's do the examples. We are given the first principles. The first example is f of x is equals to 8 of x, right? So therefore the question says determine the first derivative from the first principles or using the first principle. So like I said, we need to follow all those three steps. So the first step says what? Find f of x plus h. So therefore we're going to write f of x plus h, right? So therefore it's going to be 8 into, where we see x always, we're going to replace it with what? With x plus h, right? So therefore we're going to have x plus h. So wherever you see x, guys, like I said, always we're going to replace it with what? X plus h. Therefore we're going to simplify, and then the value that we're going to get, your, what is this thing to be? Is going to be 8x plus 8h, right? So therefore, when we are done with 8, the second step says write f of x, right? So we are going to write f of x. What is f of x? F of x is the equation that we're given, which is 8 of x, right? After writing it down, the third step says what? Find f of x plus h minus f of x. In simpler terms, um, subtract uh, the first step from, I subtract the second step from what? From the first step, right? So meaning I'm going to write it down also. The first step, it was 8x plus 8h, right? We can also see it, f of x plus h is equals to 8x plus 8h, right? Therefore minus, after writing this minus, guys, before you can plug your f of x, right, or before you can write down your f of x, always put what? A bracket, always. Therefore now you can write what? Your f of x, and we can see that our f of x here is what? 8 of x, right? And then now we're going to just simplify. We're going to have 8 of x plus 8 of h, 8 of x, it's h, guys, minus 8 of x, right? So now we can see that 8 of x minus 8 of x are going to cancel out, and then we'll be only left with 8 of h, right? And then we're done. Remember, this is the third step. So whenever you're done here, guys, if you can see that now I can no longer simplify, what you're going to do, um, you're going to take your answer into the formula of what? Of the first principle. What is the formula of the first principle? It's the first derivative is equals to the limit where h approaches 0, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, right? This is the step that we are going to have, right? So now we are going to replace everything that we had or that we calculated or simplified. So what is f of x plus h minus f of x? We did calculated it and we found that it was what? 8h. Therefore, we're going to write that 8h all over h, right? Then we're going to have the limit. Always write this limit. Always write it down. Therefore, we can see that h and h are going to cancel out and then we'll be left with what? With the constant of 8, right? And then now we can finalize and no longer write the limit of h approaches to 0 because we have no h here, right? So meaning our answer is just going to be only 8. And then we are done differentiating using the linear function and using what? The first principle. So you can see that it's very simple to use whenever you use the step 1, step 2, step 3, because from the fourth step you are just only going to plug whatever that you have and then it's going to make things easier for you, right? So now we're going to do the second step, the second example, which is 4x squared plus 8x, right? So I'm just going to erase here because of I don't have space. So if you want to copy it down, you can pause the video and copy it down. Okay guys, let's now continue with the second example, which is 4x squared. Okay, let me write it here. Okay guys, I forgot to write f of x is equals to 4x squared plus 8x here, right? So it's f of x is equals to 4x squared plus 8x. So now we're going to find the first derivative using what? The first principle, whereby we have the quadratic function. You can see that we're given the quadratic function, right? So but then, like I said, we need to follow step 1 to step 3. So the step 1 says find f of x plus h, right? That was going to be 4 into, like I said, where we see x, always we're going to replace it with what? X plus h. Therefore, we're going to have x plus h here, all squared plus 8 into, there's x here, and then we're going to replace it with what? X plus h, right? So now is the method of simplifying. Therefore, we're going to have 4 into x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, right? Then close bracket plus 8x plus 8h, right? I hope you do follow here. Then now we're going to multiply everything by 4 so that we can remove the squared. We're going to have 4x squared plus 8xh plus 4h squared plus 8x plus 8h. Do we have the like terms here? No, we don't have the like terms. So now we're going to what? To the second step, whereby we're going to write f of x. Therefore, we write our f of x. What is the f of x? The equation, or it is the function that we're given, which is 4x squared plus 8x, right guys? So therefore, we are done writing what? The second step. Now we come to what? Finding f of x plus h minus f of x, which is the third step. So we need to write that formula which is x plus h minus f of x, right? Therefore, what is f of x plus h? Here we did calculated it, which is 4x squared plus 8xh plus 4h squared plus 8x plus 8h. Therefore, we are done. Then we have what? Negative. After writing this negative, like I said, always we need to put what? Before we can write the values of f of x, we need to put what? There, we need to open a bracket, right? So after opening a bracket, we can now put the values that we have for f of x. We can see that this equation is 4x squared plus 8x, right? So guys, it's very important to put this negative. After putting this negative, you do what? You open a bracket. Always make sure that you don't forget that. Then now we can simplify. You're gonna have 4x squared plus 8xh plus 4h squared plus 8x plus 8h. Therefore, multiply everything by negative. We're going to have negative 4x squared negative 8x. You see, if you didn't put a negative the brackets here, guys, it might affect your values, because you might have said plus 8x here. You see, whereby it's going to affect everything. Then now we can add the like terms. We can see that 4x squared is going to cancel with what? Negative 4x squared. And also 8x is going to cancel with what? Negative 8x. And then we'll be left with what? 8xh plus 4h squared plus 8h. Right, guys? So now, from quadratic function, whenever determining the first derivative using the quadratic function, the aim is to always, the last step, you have to always be able to take out h as a common factor. Right, let me repeat it. From the quadratic function, after writing these steps, the last step that you need to do is you must be able to take out h as the common factor. That is the aim. So we can see that we have from the first term we have h, from the second term we have h, which is 4h squared, and from the third term we have h, right? So now it means we can take out what? H as the common factor. Then that is the aim. Then we can see that we'll be left with 8x plus 4h plus 8, right? Therefore we are done. So guys, let me repeat it again. Whenever solving the first derivative using the first principle, whereby you have a quadratic function, from this third step, right, always the last thing that you write, you must be able to take out h as the common factor. It is important. If you can't, let's say you had something like plus 8x, it means you made a mistake. Go to check um, f of x plus h minus f of x of yours carefully where you did a mistake, because you must be able to take out h as a common factor here, right, from all the terms. You can see that from here we have three terms, which is 8xh plus 4h squared plus 8h. So from this, all the terms, you must be able to take out h as the common factor. If we had, like, let's say negative 8x here, the answer was going to be wrong, because we can't take out h as a common factor from negative 8x, because there's no h there, right? So now, after writing this down, we are done, and then we can no longer simplify further. And then what are we going to do? Now we're going to introduce the formula of the first principle, which is the limit whereby h approaches 0. It's what? It's f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, right? And then now we're going to simplify. What is, okay, we need to write this down first. What is f of x plus h minus f of x? We did calculate it here and already take out the h as a common factor. 8x plus 4h plus 8, right? Therefore, all over what? All over h. Or I do believe now you can see why I emphasize a thing of taking out, like you must be able to take out h as the common factor. You can see now that this h is going to cancel with this 8, right? With this h, I mean, right? So now we can see that this h is going to cancel with this one and will be left with what? 8x plus 4h plus 8, right? So how do we remove the limit of h whereby it approaches infinity? We are going to write 8x plus 4. Where we see h, we are going to put what? 0, right? Therefore, we can see that the final answer is what? 8x plus 8. And then we are done solving um, the quadratic function using the first principle. So you can see that, guys, from the quadratic function, the aim is to do what? From the third step, you must be able to take what? H as the common factor. That is the aim. That is the aim. So meaning from the third step, make sure that you are able to take out h as the common factor from all the terms. If you can't, check the first step and check the second step where you made a mistake, because you must be able to take out h as the common factor from all the terms. Then after you replace them, you can see that things have become easier for you whenever putting them in what in the equation that you need to use, right? So now we're going to do the last one, which is the hyperbolic function for what? For the first principle, right? So I'm just going to erase here. Okay, guys, now let's do the last example for the first principle, which is f of x is equals to 2 all over x, right? So like I said, the first step is to do what? Find f of x plus h, right? Find f of x plus h. Therefore, it's going to be 2 all over. As said, wherever you see x, you're going to replace it with what? With x plus h, right? Therefore, we can simplify it further. Then we go to what? To the second step, whereby we write f of x. Therefore, we can see that our f of x is equals to 2 all over x, right? Then now we come to what? To the third step, whereby we're going to find f of x plus h minus f of x, right? I hope now you do follow all those three steps. So for f of x plus h, we have what? 2 all over x plus h, right? Therefore, like I said, after we write negative, after writing negative, we do what? We open a bracket and then write our f of x, which is 2 all over x, right? Then now we're going to have 2 all over x plus h minus 2 all over x, right? So we are not done. From this thing, we need to combine our fractions. So when we combine our fractions, we are going to have something like, we take those two denominators the way they are, Therefore, we can see that here we're going to have 2x, and then here x and x are going to cancel out, and then we'll be left with what? 2 into x plus h. I hope you guys know how to take out, how to combine the fractions. Ne? I hope you do know that. If you don't, you can text me, and then, you can comment here below, and then I'll do, wait, let me fix here. I will help you or make a video on how do we combine the fractions, right? So therefore we're going to have 2h all over, we can see that it's x squared plus h. But then after writing this like this, guys, please put the brackets. You'll see why we need to put the brackets. So now we are done, right? And we can see that, oh, this 2x minus 2x, they're going to cancel out. Therefore, we'll be left with negative 2h all over x squared plus h, right? And then we are done. We cannot simplify further. Then as we cannot simplify further, let me try to make a space here, guys, so that we can be able to continue. Okay, as we can no longer simplify further, I said we should do what? Now we are going to introduce the equation. Let me just write a line here so that you can see that now we're going to continue on the other side. Yeah, I hope it's bad. So as we are now done simplifying, we are left with negative 2h all over x squared plus h. What we are going to do is to write what? Our equation, right, guys? So don't forget that. So our equation is what? F prime of x is equals to the limit whereby h approaches 0, right? Therefore, it's f of x plus h minus f of x, right? All over what? All over h. Now we have the limit where h approaches 0. What is f of x plus h minus f of x? We did calculated it here. It's what? It's negative 2 all over x squared plus h, right? Which is all over what? H. So after writing this step like this, what you're going to do, guys, we need to write it in the simplest way, whereby we're going to say negative 2 all over this x squared plus h is the same as divided by h, right? So we need to write it in these terms, right? Therefore, after writing in these terms, we know that negative 2 all over x squared plus h is the same as multiplying by 1 over h, right? So now we can multiply everything by what? By h and 1. Therefore, negative 2 multiplied by 1, it's negative 2. It doesn't change. Therefore, all over, it's negative 2h, guys. Yeah, I forgot to write h. It's negative 2h. Sorry for that. It's negative 2h, negative 2h. Therefore, we can see that it's going to give us negative 2h, and then here we are going to have h into x squared plus h, right? Close bracket. Now you can see that we have h and we have h here, they can cancel out. So you see why I said after writing the denominators are like our denominator, we need to put the brackets. It was that whenever we multiply h, we don't go to the step whereby we're now going to take out h as the common factor. You can see that now there is no need for you to take out h as the common factor, right? We're just going to cancel the h. So the aim of here, guys, is to do what? On the third step, uh, the last step on the third step, right? From the third step, whereby we have f of x plus h minus f of x. Can you see the last step, which is negative 2h all over x squared plus h? So the denominator of yours, always you must put what? The brackets, right? Always you must put what? The brackets, because it's going to help us a lot. Let's say you don't have the brackets. You see that this h is going to, you were supposed to have hx squared plus h squared. You see, so it still takes you back from where that you need to also take out what? H as a common factor. So always from the denominator toward put the brackets whenever dealing with this kind of equations. You're going to put the brackets so that whenever you multiply with h, you know that there's no need for you to take out h as the common factor. And again, from this a hyperbolic function, always your numerator from this step, your numerator is going to cancel, your numerator is going to, it's either going to be negative 2h or h only. There's no other value that is going to be here. And guys, believe me, always. So you must be aware of those kind of things. You'll never have negative 2h plus x. You'll never. So if you have something like that, that just know that you made a mistake and then go to check where you made a mistake, right? So now we're going to cancel our h, and then we'll be left with what? Negative 2 all over x squared plus h. Yo, guys, I forgot to write this step. Remember that we are dealing with what? You must not forget to write this thing. Don't be like me, where the limit is the limit where h approaches 0. Don't forget to write this step, guys. Don't be like me. You see, I forgot to write it. So make sure you write it from everywhere, right? So now, where the limit of h approaches 0, where we see h, we're going to put what? 0, right? Because we have arrived to the answer, which is going to be x squared plus what? Plus 0. Therefore, our answer is going to be negative 2 all over x squared. This is the final answer. So, like I said, guys, the limit of h approaches 0. Always make sure you write it, because I made a mistake here by not writing it. You must write it from after writing the equation of the first principle. Make sure that you write that limit of h approaches 0 until you subtracted it or you substitute it, right? So we are done with the first principles example. So these are the functions that you need to be aware of. The examiner can choose from the linear function, quadratic function, or the hyperbolic function, or also the cubic function. But then you use the same method, right? But the tricky part, it was these three things, or the hyperbolic function. So whenever you have a hyperbolic function, you saw what you do, and whenever you have the quadratic function, you saw what you do, and also the linear function. So kindly like and subscribe, and then if you find this video useful, so like guys, like I said, we will do all those three subtopics, but then because of the duration, I'm going to cut this video here from the first principle, and then I'm going to do another video whereby I'm going to explain the derivative and the tangent. Thank you.